here. Mary Kay today is brought to us by our dear friends at FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on America's #1 sportsbook, which is, as always, FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And the 12 o'clock hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is our Hall of Fame hour today. We have Joe Thomas joining us in half an hour. And we start with our resident Hall of Famer. It is Mary Kay Cabot. What's up, Mary Kay?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. Good to have you with us. Are you sad to be back in the cold weather and away from L.A., or are you happy?
You know what? I'm happy. It was a long trip. It was a lot of fun. Got a chance to go out in LA a little bit and see some really cool things in West Hollywood. It was so much fun. It was nice to be out in the sunshine. The practices were fun to be at. But it's also fun, to get back home. Now I've got to get a Christmas tree and some presents, and somehow I have to make Christmas happen.
Oh, boy. Yeah, you're running out of time here, Mary Kay. Things are going to get crazy out of Crocker
Less
Park.
than 3 weeks today.
Crocker Park's already bananas.
Yeah, it is. Mary Kay, any notes that you want to throw our way? Anything that maybe slipped through the cracks from Sunday's loss?
No, I mean, the only things, that I'm really trying to keep an eye on today, obviously, are things like, is Trevor Lawrence going to play? Is Amari Cooper going to play? Are they going to name Joe Flacco the starter, which I think ultimately probably will happen. But, I fully think that Kevin's doing the right thing in not naming him the starter yet. Because, of course, you want to keep those Jaguars thinking as long as you possibly can.
Yeah, and they're two different style quarterbacks. So, I mean, there's no benefit to him announcing the starting quarterback to the media and to the world and to the Jags until later in the week.
Probably. Do you think
the team knows? I think
he's decided, I assume, Mary Kay. Do you think behind the scenes or not 100%?
Well, the team usually knows. Now they are off today, so it's not like they're getting a bunch of reps today from Joe Flacco and are picking up clues that way. But the team knows before we know because they're going through their meetings and they're going through their practices, so they always know before we do. But I think it should be Joe. He brings that veteran presence, that calming influence to the offense. He got a lot of different guys involved. I think it's going to be good for Elijah Moore going forward. I think, there is one player that we can talk about that I think really needs to step up in this offense at this very crucial time. And I think Joe might be able to get him involved. And I think it's the right thing to do.
Aside from the interception, which I know, other than that, what was the general reaction from folks you spoke with after the game about Joe's play? Because I mean, honestly, and that you can't take that out. That was the play that swung the whole game. But just his command, his presence, his arm strength, his decision making. What were folks saying after the game to you about it?
Yeah, very positive reviews. Very, very positive reviews. Because obviously he has command of the huddle. He can keep those guys calm in the face of adversity. They have the belief that he can come in there and lead them on a touchdown drive. And, he showed that right from the jump. So I think everybody felt really, really good about it. And, I think they also recognized they lost their #1 receiver in that game to Amari Cooper. I mean, that's a tall order. Hey, Joe, go in and start a game on 3 days practice and hardly even knowing the names of some of your receivers. And then we're going to take your #1 receiver out of the football game. How about that? So, on that last pass, on that interception that he threw, that probably would have been Amari down there on the deep level of that route. And, he wasn't there. So I think, that hurts matters. But, hopefully they'll have Amari back for him. But, I just think that he needs to be the guy.
Mary Kay, hi. It's the first time we've talked like this. It's usually on the phone.
Oh, yes. Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
I'm doing great. Thank you.
So we talk about, Amari Cooper still to be determined if he'll play or not. We've seen Elijah Moore have his best game as a Cleveland Brown. Last week, Amari talked about Joe Flacco being a wealth of knowledge, somebody that you can pick their brain. I think Elijah Moore alluded to the same thing. How can he help Cedric Tillman further develop, especially if the Browns are going to be without Amari Cooper this week?
Well, anytime you have a long time veteran like that, he can obviously help those rookie receivers understand the nuances of a route and where they need to be and how they need to be there. And just another week of practice between those guys today will go a long way towards them having some timing and some rhythm and some chemistry. So I think it will really help Ced. It's time for Ced. He's got to put on the big boy pants now, and he's got to be a reliable receiver for Joe. And when you look at Cedric Tillman, he only caught 2 of 6 of his targets, and the percentages have got to be higher than that. You've got to be able to do better than that. So, Joe needs to figure him out, and he needs to figure Joe out. But, it's time for some of these young guys to step up into their role. And, when you get a chance, you guys go ahead and you can ask me who I was talking about that I'm going to, really put some pressure on to step up and be there for Joe Flacco.
Well, who is I assumed it was Cedric Tillman, but it's not. Is it Njoku? Who is it?
It's Njoku. I think David Njoku now, he's been around for 7 years. He's making $13.68 million. He only has 2 touchdown catches this season, and that's not enough. That's not enough. Yeah. And he only caught 2 of 6. He's got to have better hands. He's got to have better awareness of where his feet are. He's got to win the contested catch more. And in every way, he's got to step up his game. He's got the size and the strength to go up over smaller defensive backs and create these unbelievable mismatches. And because of his physical abilities, I've always said that once he has good quarterback play, he should be an 8 touchdown a year guy. That means he needs 6 more right now. I will qualify it by saying he has not had the quarterback stability this year. And whenever I said that, I always meant it. If he had a full season with Deshaun Watson, that's what I would expect from him. He is a really good blocker, and he is on pace, for some career highs in receptions and yards. But you've got to be in that red zone and end zone, going up over those DBs and creating those mismatches and catching those touchdowns.
To your point, Mary Kay, we're seeing tight end production. Like it used to be, it would just be Kelsey and maybe Kittle and Andrews. But Hawkinson has moved into that. And you got 3 young guys. Just
look at Laporta.
Laporta's been phenomenal as a rookie. Dalton Kincaid has come on after a slow first month. He's been great for Buffalo. This kid, Trey McBride in Arizona, we saw him when the Browns played against him. He's a second-year guy. He's got 6 touchdowns. Laporta's got 6 touchdowns. They need him to be – I think you're right. And one of the things you said in that, and this is something I've complained about with Elijah Moore, and outside of Amari Cooper, the Browns pass catchers are terrible at this. You talked about knowing where your feet are on the field because David Njoku was out of bounds on that play. They are so bad as a team outside of Cooper at catching the ball on the sideline, getting the feet down.
Sideline awareness.
Yeah, sideline awareness. That's an art. I mean, it is. And the Browns, you mentioned Njoku, but the Browns have a problem with that in in I think.
Yeah, they need some better toe drag swag. So, that's
right.
I like that.
That's what they've got to do.
They need to catch the ball better, too. Why are our receivers dropping so many passes?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think that some of it has to do with the fact that they have had to adjust to 4 different quarterbacks this season. But you know what? As Amari Cooper always says, too bad. That's what you have to do. It's your job to catch the ball no matter who is throwing it to you. Now, they did, it seemed, have some difficulty catching Dorian Thompson-Robinson's passes. Now, I don't know that if that's Dorian's fault in any way, shape, or form, or if these guys just, weren't adjusting and pivoting well enough to different velocity and different ball placement and all those kinds of things. But, they just have to, look for it, look it in, corral it, and keep those little toes in bounds. So, they all have to step up their game, and they have to help Joe Flacco. And again, some of the catch percentages were not high enough, and David's was one of those. David was another one that was, 2 for 6 for what I think it was 17 yards or whatever we showed there. But, he's someone that I am putting the onus on him this week to, to really be a reliable pass catcher for his quarterback.
Very good. We've got a question for you as it pertains to Deshaun Watson. This is a conversation we haven't yet had on the air, but we were discussing it in our text chain last night. Deshaun Watson obviously had the shoulder surgery, so he's out. Was at the game Sunday. He's rehabbing in L.A., so I'm assuming that's why he was at the game. He was in a box watching the game. And
seeming uninterested, which is probably unfair because it was just when the camera was on him.
Yeah, that's unfair. I mean, who knows? We don't know that he was uninterested,
Right.
but he's selected to watch the game from the box. We also noticed last night that Joe Burrow, also recently coming off surgery, was on the Bengals sideline, actively involved in helping Jake Browning turn in one of the best quarterback performances of the year, if you look statistically. Is there a reason that he's not on the sideline with the team? Should we give him a pass for that? We can't understand why Burrow's doing it, but our guy isn't.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that that the Browns put Nick Chubb, Jed Wills, Deshaun Watson, and other IR guys that were at the game in the box. They don't want, Nick's on crutches, and, Deshaun recently underwent his surgery. He's in the sling, and they're just taking as many precautions as they possibly can with these guys. I did not have a problem with it whatsoever. What would we all be saying right now if he got crashed into, and that happens,
You're right.
if he got crashed into on the sidelines and further injured a freshly repaired shoulder? I did not have a problem with it. Nick was in there as well. As far as him not wearing Browns gear, I don't have a problem with that either. I'm not as, I don't know. I don't get hung up on those kinds of things like some other people do.
That's fair.
As soon as he can be with the team, and he will be with the team, he's trying to get back with the team. I mean, let's remember, this is a player that begged a bunch of different doctors to shoot up the arm so he could finish the season. This is not somebody that's disinterested and doesn't want to play. So I know that people don't ever want to give Deshaun the benefit of the doubt for their, for personal reasons. And I understand a lot of people feel that way. But I think that sometimes there's a pile-on thing going on when he's just watching a football game from a box, like Nick Chubb is.
No, that's fair, and I actually agree with you. I wanted to throw it out there as something that we were discussing in our text chain. And I think the reason that you gave is the reason. I know Joe Burrow was down there. Joe Burrow could have taken a sideline hit. We see guys taking out, 10 feet, 15 feet behind the sidelines. And if that happens and Joe Burrow, God forbid, he takes a hit to the wrist or gets re-injured, it's an unnecessary risk that you don't have to take. And I completely agree with you. You have a question, right?
Yeah, Mary Kay, speaking of star players with shoulder injuries, Myles Garrett was not really that effective in the game versus the Rams. Do you foresee him to continue to play through this injury, or should the Cleveland Browns consider sitting him for a week or two and let him heal up for the playoff run?
I think that the fact that he hasn't had a sack in each of the last two games has more to do with the fact that you've got some really, really good head coaches that they have been running into that have tried to do everything they can to take Myles out of the game. They know what they have to do. That's job number one on that side of the ball, is to minimize Myles. And when you do that, then, who else is going to get to the quarterback? The next highest sacker is Obo with 3.5. Z has only 2.5. So that's been a problem this year. They can tell us all they want that, sacks are an overrated stat and that you don't need them. But, when you're dropping someone for a 10-yard loss, I don't know how that is, overrated. And especially if you can get the ball out of there, right? So you can see the leaderboard right there. It's not enough from the other guys. Myles didn't seem to be too affected by the shoulder in this game. He, that's what he said afterwards. It didn't bother him that much. He had it taped up and he was ready to go. But I think that's more a function of good coaches scheming up against him.
All right, Mary Kay, real quick, if you had to bet today, Denzel Ward play or not play this Sunday?
Oh, that's a good one. It could still be 50-50 right now because today is the key day for him. They were hoping that he turns the corner in the beginning of the week to the point where he can get on the practice field on Wednesday. And I don't know if that's happened yet. I'll say 60% chance that he'll play, 40% he won't.
We'll take that.
That's good. I'll take 60-40.
They
Thanks,
have not
Mary
looked
Kay.
the same without him. Mary Kay, great stuff as always. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Good luck with
Mary
that
Kay.
Christmas stuff. I know you'll come through big.
Yo, she need a copyright.
I hope
Tough
so.
shopping.
toe drag.